Draco Malfoy. Think my name's funny, do you?
Draco Malfoy was a hater, the biggest hater in all of Hogwarts. This dude was out here snitching and always trying to one-up the gang, from literally his first appearance. I've always found it so interesting that this character is only present in the entire series for about 20-ish minutes, and yet he's so loved. Why is that? I personally think Draco has one of the most interesting arcs in the entire story, which is so impressive given his short screen time. The Harry Potter series is loved worldwide. Harry Potter is one of my first loves, and a big reason for its success is how it handles each character as they get older. The first two movies get the audience settled into the world. We're brought into this universe with Harry, as he himself is seeing the wizarding world for the first time, and so we develop a bond with our main character. After the first two movies, the series gets darker and darker to symbolize the incoming threat that our characters are about to face, and when that threat makes itself known, we see how it affects each person. And I think that Draco is transformed by the world state in such an interesting way, and that's what I'm here to explore. Now, as we first enter this world with Harry, the first Slytherin that we meet in the Philosopher's Stone is Draco Malfoy. He's introduced as a bully, and as the audience, we instantly connect Draco and House Slytherin as antagonists. That is Draco's function in the first movie. He goes around intimidating and picking on those that he feels are beneath him, and so we think that all Slytherin must be the same. He's basically a really cool film device that makes us think that all Slytherin are evil and are bullies. Aside that, he makes a pretty good foil in the earlier movies, as he's shown to be a talented wizard. He possesses similar talents that a main character like Harry would possess, so pitting Harry and Draco against each other creates some good drama and conflict. An example of this would be both Harry and Draco breaking the rules and going on their brooms, as Harry tries to get Neville's Remember All back. They're both the only students that would take this risk, except Draco does it to prove his supremacy, and Harry does it to stand up to him. This sort of sets up their diverging arcs, both being talented wizards who just take opposite paths in life. The second movie develops Draco a bit more, and we get to see where his privilege, arrogance, and cunning comes from: his father. It's interesting because the actor who plays Lucius Malfoy even mentions that the main idea behind his role and character was to show why Draco is the way he is.
Like everybody else, I despised him and wanted to boo him off the screen, and I was trying to take some inspiration from who he was, and so I thought that partly my job was to help you understand why he turned out like that. So as much as I could get on screen, I was just a bully, terrible father.
You see, Weasley, unlike some, my father can afford the best.
But the charm in these movies is that instead of making him a one-dimensional foil, we get to see some brief scenes of Malfoy just being a kid, hanging out with his friends, making jokes, participating in class, and although he remains unpleasant, Draco is still shown to be a person and a kid, something that I'll get back to. The Chamber of Secrets also shows Draco to be a talented seeker, again being one step behind Harry. It's really important to notice that from the earlier movies, we see Draco trying to compete and trying to best Harry, as he is a foil, but it's clear he's jealous of Harry. Draco wants to be the chosen one. In a world where everyone sort of worships Harry and puts him on this pedestal, we have a character like Draco who wants the recognition that Harry gets. Because of Draco's bloodline, pride, the expectations placed onto him by his house, and the way he was raised by his parents, we see a kid who wants to be supreme, but also recognized for his talents. It seems unfair to Draco that Harry gets the attention of potentially being the heir of Slytherin, with him speaking Parseltongue and taking the limelight. The expectations that are put on Draco carry through till the end of the series. And to build on that, Chamber of Secrets is where we first see Slytherin ideologies come into picture, where Draco calls Hermione a mudblood. The concept of purebloods and mudbloods is introduced by Draco and Slytherin House. It's cool to see how they relay all of these negative concepts through the same house and same person, and I think it's to prepare us for a couple of twists in the later movies. Namely, where we find out that Snape, a Slytherin, has been good all along, and Draco's eventual humanization and climax as a character, which we'll soon talk about. But I think through parts 3 to 5, Draco is a pretty standard one-dimensional bully, and maybe even less than a foil. But part 6, The Half-Blood Freaking Prince, a movie that grew on me like crazy, my now third favorite film in the series, is only because of Draco's arc. His ambition to become the chosen one is so vulnerable. I think Tom Felton brings a beautiful sensitivity and desperation to this character that I really want to dig into. As a film, The Half-Blood Prince has a very interesting and balanced story structure. Half of the movie shows us the school and love life at Hogwarts, and the other half builds on the threat of Voldemort, Horcruxes, and the larger stakes of the series. It functions really well as it shows us the last time we see our characters in Hogwarts learning together, falling in love, and just being kids. The world state after this movie changes so much, and the stakes are immensely increased due to the death of Dumbledore. All of a sudden, anyone can die, and everyone is left unprotected. The tone of this movie is instantly darker. It starts off in a haunting way, specifically for Draco, who now transitions from a generic bully to someone involved in something much more malicious. He isn't here to joke around anymore, he's here on a mission. Draco's first interaction with his classmates on the Hogwarts Express exudes a sense of superiority, even more than before. It seems like he's been chosen for something.
Let's just say I don't think you'll see me wasting my time in charms class next year. Amused, Blaze. See just who's laughing in the end.
He's more out of character in this one, distracted, almost haunted, and we know why. He's been chosen to kill Dumbledore by Voldemort. The expectations put onto him by his family, his father, the Dark Wizards, and Voldemort himself affect him way more than he'd like to admit. He keeps up a strong act, but we need to remember that he's still a kid, and those scenes that I mentioned earlier of him being a goof with his friends really humanize him for me. If we take a careful notice to Malfoy during this movie, every act he does is to get closer to his goal of killing Dumbledore. It's pretty obvious, but even in scenes where he's standing in the background, he appears distracted, unless the topic would somehow get him closer to his goal in satisfying Voldemort, like the scene where the class attempts to brew liquid luck.
Liquid luck. One sip and you will find that all of your endeavors succeed.
We also don't see him interacting with Harry much in this movie, as Draco is beyond that now. He's burdened with purpose. He isn't there for Quidditch, and he isn't competing with Harry anymore. His mind is set on one goal: to prove his worth. Draco begins experimenting with hexes and dark magic, and even curses a student by accident, as he tries to get the dark magic infused opal necklace to Dumbledore. He also tries to get a poison drink to Dumbledore, but neither of his schemes work. And finally, during a conversation between Snape and Draco, we see his desperation for validation, how he wants so badly to be the chosen one, to be recognized.
I don't need protection. I was chosen for this. Out of all others, me. And I won't fail him.
You're afraid, Draco.
No! I was chosen. This is my moment.
Just by Draco's dialogue delivery, you can feel the desperation in his voice. Tom Felton kills it. This scene is so important because it reminds us that he's not some dark wizard. He's just a teen that went the wrong way because of his jealousy, ambition, and high-stake expectations. And as Harry asks Katie who hexed her, we see the fear in Draco's eyes, the fear of him failing. I love this scene. Draco walks to the washrooms and just breaks down. From the dark color palette to Draco's panic and fear as he looks at himself in the mirror. He's just a scared boy who lashes out at Harry instantly. Harry lands a deadly spell on him, and Draco basically dies, but Snape revives him, giving Draco a second chance to carry out the deed. And in the climax of this movie, we find out that the vanishing cabinet Draco has been experimenting with brings in the Dark Wizard straight to Dumbledore. And since we know that Dumbledore dying was always part of the plan, the dynamic and scene between Draco and Dumbledore is enriched even more. Here we have a scared, vulnerable teen who has achieved his goal. He has infiltrated Hogwarts for Voldemort, and yet he's devastated by his own actions. He may not say it, but it's clear through his performance. Draco doesn't want to go through with this. And I love how even in his last moments, Dumbledore remains a true teacher, one that never loses faith in his students. Dumbledore wants Snape to kill him. Sure, it's part of the plan, but he also doesn't want Draco to bear that burden.
Draco, you are no assassin.
How do you know what I am? Done things that would shock you.
Like cursing Katie Bell and hoping that in return she'd bear a cursed necklace to me. Like replacing a bottle of mead with one laced with poison. Forgive me, Draco. These actions are so weak that your heart can't really have been in them.
Dumbledore calls Draco out for what he sees. A child that has snapped under the burden of expectation. One that has lost his path. His ambition and need for validation took him down a darker road.
You trust me? I was chosen.
And this scene always reminds me of Harry and how he's supposed to be the chosen one. But we see a character here who wants that recognition of being chosen, of being special, of being validated, and one that wants to go as far as he can to attain that. Draco continues to shiver, continues to talk, and boasts his work to Dumbledore, anything to delay the final act. And we see his final breakdown when Dumbledore offers Draco his help.
Please let me help you.
I don't want your help. Don't you understand? I have to do this. I have to kill you. He's gonna kill me.
Behind all of those schemes, ambitions, and desire to be the chosen one remained fear. Draco was afraid of what Voldemort would do to him, the final layer which was unpacked in the scene. I just love Tom Felton's performance here. And as the Death Eaters and Bellatrix come to finish off Dumbledore, Draco remains hesitant. He's pressured to kill Dumbledore, but still isn't able to do it. Because even behind his fear is a person worthy of redemption, one that doesn't want to do evil, just one expected to do it.
Do it!
He doesn't have the stomach, just like his father.
And we know what happens next. Snape kills Dumbledore, and we catch that glimpse of horror in Draco's face. And as he walks alongside the Dark Wizards, he remains devastated at the severity of what he's involved with. He continues to watch in dread as the school that he called home is destroyed in front of him, all because of his own actions. As the Deathly Hallows Part 1 unfolds, a tangible sense of guilt consumes Draco, reflecting the detriment his past actions have brought upon his family, himself, and the wizarding realm at large. He comes to a realization that the approval he craved was sought after in misguided places, and though his upbringing shoulders part of the blame, it's shown from the movie just how entangled he's become with the consequences of his legacy. An example of this is when Draco primarily protects the identity of Harry when they are captured by Death Eaters, which adds to the portrayal of his internal conflict and the ongoing theme of his wavering allegiance.
If we are the ones to hand Potter over to the Dark Lord, all will be as it was, you understand?
We need to be absolutely sure.
What's wrong with his face?
Yes. What is wrong with his face?
He came to us like that. Something he picked up in the forest, I reckon.
Why didn't you tell her? Bellatrix. You knew it was me. You didn't say anything.
Come on, Draco. Don't be a brat. To him.
Draco's appearance in the last part of the series didn't give him a full redemption, as he regresses into his fear, but for a brief moment, we see where his true allegiance lies. After Harry is supposedly killed, Voldemort asks all those at Hogwarts to join him or face the consequences. Draco hesitates. A part of me believes that he mourns for Harry here. Despite all their animosity, Harry was there from the start. They grew up together, and although they went down different paths, Draco just wanted to be recognized for his talents as Harry was. Harry's death definitely affected Draco here, and so he stands with the rest of Hogwarts, his expression illustrating the horrors and fear that he feels in his own actions and allegiance. But the pull of his familial ties has him reluctantly joining forces with Voldemort. The last we see of Draco in the Battle of Hogwarts is him running away from the battlefield, in fear, and maybe even in shame. In the series' conclusion, we find Draco at King's Cross Station, a setting that he knows all too well, but now, as a father, he watches his child step into a world filled with memories both grand and grim, marking an end to his journey and the start of another. I find his entire arc and his small moments really powerful. We see a character who goes from a generic bully to a rival, to a world building and storytelling device, to a vulnerable and desperate character that just wants to be validated like our protagonist. A character that is shown to snap under the weight of his expectations, who hides behind ambition and pride, but in reality is just a scared boy. This arc reminds me a lot of Zuko from The Last Airbender. Zuko's arc is way more fleshed out, but I see similarities where both stories give the rivals what they want. They allow them to win, only to have them regret their decisions and see the errors in their ways and find a way to redeem themselves. And now Draco doesn't completely redeem himself, but I definitely feel pity for him throughout the story and his conclusion. It's definitely cathartic to see Draco stand with the rest of Hogwarts, no matter how much he claimed to hate it. It was home for him, and no matter how much he hated Harry and was jealous of him and wanted to desperately be him, Draco still mourned for him. And so that sums up Draco Malfoy's short but interesting arc that narrates the story of a boy that goes down the wrong path out of fear due to his ambition and desire for validation.